Hi, this is Brandon. Chapter 3. Enterprise automation is a structural challenge, not just a programming one. You can have the best code in the world, but without a steering wheel and brakes, you are just building a faster disaster. Ch3 is going to share a story about a utility provider that learned this the hard way. Let's listen and learn.
Chapter 3. Why automation needs structure, not just better code. Automation doesn't remove the need for control. It makes control enforceable in ways manual work never could. When helpful scripts become dangerous systems. Every automation project reaches the same turning point. What started as a few helpful scripts becomes something much bigger. A system capable of making thousands of changes across critical infrastructure with minimal human oversight. This is where most organizations fail, not because their tools are inadequate, but because they never treated automation as a structural problem requiring intentional design. The failures are predictable. An outage at 3 a.m. because a script assumed something would always be there. An audit failure because nobody can prove what version of the automation ran 3 months ago. A regional office offline for 6 hours because the only person who understands the system is on leave. These aren't tool failures, they're structural failures. This chapter establishes a foundational principle. Automation in enterprise environments must be designed, governed, and operated with the same discipline as the infrastructure it manages. Anything less scales risk faster than capability. Why scripts can't scale, even good ones. The difference between a script and a system isn't size or complexity, it's intent and life cycle. A script solves an immediate problem for one person in a controlled context. It lives in someone's personal folder. It depends on that person's specific knowledge to run. If it fails, the person who ran it fixes it. The system is the human being using the script as a tool. A system is designed to outlive its creator. It has defined inputs, predictable outputs, and built-in safety mechanisms. It doesn't live on a laptop, it lives in a governed environment. It is operated by people who didn't write it, following processes they didn't invent. When you try to run an enterprise network using a collection of scripts, you're essentially building a high-speed train, but using a person with a handheld lantern to check the tracks. It works as long as the person is awake, the lantern is lit, and the train isn't moving too fast. But eventually, the scale of the automation exceeds the human's ability to provide the structure for it. The electricity provider incident. I once investigated a major incident at a large electricity provider. Their network team had written a clever set of instructions to manage security updates. It was a brilliant time saver that ran perfectly for months. One Saturday at 3 a.m., the script started a routine update. However, it encountered a situation the author had not expected. A single network switch was slightly different from the others. Instead of stopping and asking for help, the script did what it was programmed to do. It kept trying to force the change. Because there was no safety cage around the script, it created a digital feedback loop. By 3:30 a.m., the entire corporate network was dark. Technicians in the field could not see the maps required to fix power lines, and customer service could not take emergency calls. It took 12 hours to manually untangle the mess. The problem was not bad code. The problem was that the company had a powerful engine, but no steering wheel, no brakes, and no dashboard. What structure actually looks like. In a professional automation architecture, we separate 3 things that scripts usually mix together. The source of truth, the intent. This is where we define what the network should look like. It's not a script, it's a database or a file, like Git, that holds the gold standard configuration. The control layer, the brain. This is the part that decides when and how a change happens. It checks if the change is approved, validates that the instructions are safe, and ensures the person triggering the change has the right authority. The execution engine, the muscle. This is the part that actually talks to the routers and switches. It doesn't think, it just does what the control layer tells it to do. By separating these, we create a system where we can change our muscle, moving from one tool to another without losing our brain, our safety rules and approval processes. The cost of no structure. Building without structure feels faster on day one, but the interest rates are astronomical. The hero dependency. Without structure, you depend on Bob to run the script. If Bob is on holiday, the work stops. The audit nightmare. When an auditor asks who approved the change 6 months ago and your only record is a text file on a decommissioned laptop, the automation program will be shut down. The inevitable rebuild. Eventually, the lack of structure will cause an incident so large that the organization will lose faith. You'll be forced to rebuild everything under extreme pressure and scrutiny. What you need to believe. Automation at enterprise scale is a structural problem, not a tooling problem. Better tools won't save you if your structure is wrong. Separating control from execution is foundational. It enables everything else: audit, safety, longevity, and trust. It is not optional. Scripts work until the organization depends on them. At that point, lack of structure becomes the constraint on reliability, not the capabilities of your tools. Changing tools won't fix structural problems. Switching platforms doesn't matter if the architecture is wrong. Structure matters more than tools. Trust comes from demonstrated failure containment, not from demonstration of successful changes. It is built through reproducible evidence of compliance and operational longevity through staff changes. Building structure requires effort that feels premature. When you only have 3 scripts, the investment seems excessive. The return appears when you have 300 scripts across 5 teams and they still work reliably because the foundation was sound. Treat automation as infrastructure from day one, or accept that you'll rebuild it under pressure later. There is no middle path that scales. Knowledge concentration is organizational fragility. If only 1 or 2 people understand it, you haven't built capability, you've created dependency. The next chapter examines the specific systems and processes that make this structure real in production environments.
And that is why the blueprint is more important than the hammer. We have moved from the why of enterprise scale to the how of structural integrity. By separating the brain from the hands, we make sure our automation is a tool for progress, not a source of accidental chaos. I would love to hear from you. Have you ever seen a weekend project grow into a corporate headache? Leave a comment below and let us talk about it. And if this structural approach makes sense for your network, be sure to subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Coming up in Chapter 4, we are taking these principles and applying them to your actual infrastructure to build a truly resilient system. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next chapter.